In this clip,
I think
Steph
it's
and I
being used
embarrass
more
ourselves
informally
by
than
not
that.
knowing any of the history to quantum computing.
Chibi says, did you know that today, on this day in history, Uranus was discovered? I did not know that. But,
I did know that
oh
because
really?
I did the Bracket City puzzle today. Yeah.
But Harmony Bot today said, let's see, it's March 13th. Did you know that on this day in 1980, the first successful test of a quantum computer was completed?
I didn't know that. I knew about Uranus, but not
But not quantum computing.
quantum computing.
8-Bit said, when was quantum computing started? Also, was it discovered, invented, or introduced, created, or developed? And what would be the proper word for the beginning of quantum computing? So,
1892,
yeah,
invented Uranus.
the first test of the quantum computing was in 1980, according to Harmony Bot. So I guess, here's the thing, right? Like, so when did they come up with quantum concepts? I don't know, like the 1930s maybe? There was was it Maxwell with his black body radiation crisis or something like that? Do you remember this, Seth? Or
I wasn't, contrary to popular belief, I
no,
was not
like
alive
from your
in the
study of mystery
1930s.
of history.
Oh, I don't remember exactly. Sounds plausible.
It's around that
Sounds
era,
more
I
plausible
think.
than the burrito bone.
Around that era
Yeah.
of 1930, I think. You can Google the exact dates, I'm sure. But like Maxwell or whatever saw that there was like, he did some calculations about black body radiation, which is like how much light it should emit or something like that. And it would be like infinite if you just did it with classical physics. Like, you know, so everybody would be burnt alive from all the radiation being emitted, like, you know, hotter than the sun and all that. So they're like, okay, so obviously the calculations were wrong. And then, you know, they did there was a lot of like hand wringing and consternation. And eventually they were like, oh, it's all quantum physics. We figured it out. And then like the physicists were happy again, right? That's the short version of what happened. And I guess somewhere along the way, someone was like, hey, you know what this would be good for? Computers. And so someone had the idea, right? But then the first test, according to Harmony, was 1980. So I don't know when you want to pin down the invention. Like, you know, is it when some guy, you know, thought of it? He's like, you know, we could probably use this for computers. Or is it when they actually did a proof of concept, apparently in the 1980s, where they're like, hey, look, it actually works in real life. And I think maybe a lot of technology and a lot of science is like that, right? Like I think like people, like if you go on Wikipedia, probably they'll give you a date, right? Like for example, the invention of the light bulb, they'll say it was invented on this such and such a day, right? But was that the day that the guy came up with the idea, like Thomas Edison, or was it the guy where he actually built it for the first time, or what, you know?
So I'm feeling like, please help me if anyone knows if this is true or not, or if I'm just hallucinating this. Would you say that Claude Shannon was a developer of quantum computing? Was a inspiration?
I don't associate his name with quantum computing, so maybe he did some stuff with quantum computing, but I didn't, you know, it didn't occur to me. Like if you had a true or false, you know, this guy is involved with quantum computing, I'd be like, false, you know, like he's the guy who came up with Shannon entropy, right? Like the measure of information, and things like that. Yes. And so, like, you know, there's probably some overlap with quantum computing, but I don't think of him as a quantum computing person.
Gotcha. I read the book, The Information.
Okay.
And it introduced me to Claude Shannon, and I feel like there was a link to quantum computing discussed in the book, but unfortunately I don't remember it enough to know if I'm right.
It's because you don't use the Zettel-Kessin method or whatever, Steph. Not like me. I always retain everything I read thanks to my Zettel-Kessin
I just
notes.
put it all
It's
in my burrito bowl.
And then you watch your TikToks, and then your brain rots, and you don't recall anything.
That's a good point. Anyway, Claude Shannon was busy in the 1940s and 50s.
Okay.
If he's involved, he may not be.
Okay, that narrows it down a little bit, right? That gives us helps us pinpoint the dates.
Yeah, that's pretty close. Some guy who may or may not have been involved. May or may not
did an unrelated discovery, but we don't know what discovery. He did something in the 1940s. We don't know what though.
He did something.
Yeah,
it was good stuff.